Mga kasama, narito ang mga balita sa oras na ito. Mga batang ayaw nang magpabakuna, ikinabahala naman ng dating kalihim ng Department of Health at ng mga doktor. Kasama natin sa balita si Radyoman Silvestre Labay.
Dzxl Report.
Nawawamba si dating DOH Secretary Esperanza Cabral at maging si Dr. Francisco Tranquilino, faculty ng UP-PGH, kung hindi magbabakuna ang mga bata dahil sa takot na mamatay sa controversial sa pinanding vaksya. Ayon kay dating DOH Secretary Esperanza Cabral, na 80% na hindi naturukan ng anti-titano ay posibleng magkakatitano. At kapag hindi naman umano nabakunahan ng anti-polio ay maaring magkasakit naman ng polio kaya ay maparalisado dahil sa hindi nabakunahan ng naturang mga vaccine. Kita ni Dr. Tranquilino na dapat ay mag-ingat ang mga opisyal ng pamahalaan patungkol sa pagsasalita tungkol sa dingbaksya dahil mahirap po nung maibalik na ang tiwala ng publiko sa naturang usapin. Patutsada pa ni Dr. Tranquilino na sa mga kasamahan niyang doktor na panay ang salita sa mga telebisyon kung wala naman silang expertise sa naturang usapin, dapat umanong itikom na lamang nila ang kanilang mga bibig o manahimik na lamang sa naturang usapin para hindi naman makakalika ng panik sa publiko sa naturang usapin. Kasama mo sa Maynila, Radyoman Silvestre Labay ng Dzxl 558 Tatak, RMS.
At mga kasama, ito ay kaugnay pa rin sa FDA, dumipensa sa pagbibigay ng registration at clearance sa Sanofi. Ito po yung nasa likod ng dingbaksya vaccine. At pakinggan ho natin ang mga nangyayari ngayon sa hearing dyan po sa Kongreso. Live kasama natin si Radyoman Condebata.
Dzxl Report.
Sa nagpapatuloy na pagdinig ng House Committee on Good Government and Public Accountability, nagugas kamay naman ng Food and Drug Administration sa pagkakaaproba sa registration ng Sanofi para sa distribution ng dingbaksya. Gate dito ni Iloilo Representative Eugenio Beron, hindi na rehistrado sa European FDA ang dingbaksya kaya walang dahilan na naipamahagi ito sa bansa. Pero paglilinaw dito ni FDA OIC Director Maria Lourdes Santiago na nasatisfy naman ng Sanofi ang requirements bago ang registration kaya binigyan ng FDA ng clearance ito. Inaprobahan din ng registration sa dingbaksya base na rin sa rekomendasyon ng World Health Organization at ng International Council for Harmonization of Technical Requirements for Pharmaceuticals for Human Use. Todo depensa naman si Asia Pacific Head for Sanofi Pasteur Thomas Triumph na agad naman nilang ibinahagi sa bansa ang epekto ng dingbaksya matapos lumabas ang resulta ng mga pag-aaral noong November 2017. At ngayon ay nagpapatuloy ang pagdinig. Pakinggan na natin itong hearing kaugnay pa rin sa issue ng dingbaksya.
Dzxl Special Coverage.
At the cost of 3.5 billion, at the expense of 700,000 children. My God, then you will tell us right now that you will not refund. I'm not asking you. So my dear colleagues and Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity. I have lots of questions to answer, to ask, but then for now, I think the picture is quite very clear. I cannot understand, of course, as to the efficacy of the medicine. Pero sabi ko po dito, malinaw ever since that from the time it was procured, CPR, December 23, December 28, letter requesting for funding, despite not being the AGA. December 29, meron ng SARO, wala pang FEC. Pinirmahan ng procurement January 19, wala pa rin ang FEC approval, exemption, February 4. This again, I would tell that this is the fastest procurement history in DOH. I would not like to blame anybody. Wala naman no santo rito. But I am just telling you that we have been spending time and effort all together for more than a year discussing all of this, and you would like to deny each and every detail that you participated. When in truth and in fact, meron naman. So for that, this time, Mr. Chair, thank you for the opportunity, and I am always be glad to be part as Vice Chair of the Committee on Good Government. Thank you and God bless you.
Mr. Chair,
Thank you.
may I just say for the record that the
you have the
grant
floor.
of the Sanofi SPOA Foundation is not to my person but to the hospital, PCMC, in order to help the children with cancer. That's all, Mr. Chair.
Noted, Dr. Lesiones. We'll now proceed. Before we proceed, may I acknowledge the presence of Representative Sandra Irigel. Earlier, there was a slot given to Representative Biason, but he went for another hearing. So may I now recognize Representative Biason, and after Representative Biason, we'll go back to Representative Acop for former Secretary Garin to answer the question of Representative Acop. Representative Biason is recognized.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. May I direct my question to Mr. Trion? If I may quote from your opening statement on the hearing of December 13, 2017. And I quote, 2 weeks ago, Sanofi Pasteur, on its own initiative and in full transparency, immediately shared with the Department of Health and the FDA newly discovered information that came to light only after 2 years following the registration of the vaccine by the FDA. This information, which was learned as a result of Sanofi Pasteur's activities conducted as a matter of best scientific practice, shows that seronegative persons have a 0.2% increased risk of getting traditional dengue symptoms, etc. End of quote. Do you confirm that statement?
I do confirm, Your Honor.
Yes, and earlier this morning you also made a similar statement saying that the trials, the phase 3 trials, was completed at the end, by the end of 2014. You confirm that?
I said the active phase of the phase 3 trial was completed. The active phase. That's what I said this morning, Your Honor.
And the hospital phase was the next phase after the active phase?
The next phase is called the follow-up phase. I said the active phase of the phase 3.
Now, your application for a change in label was in November of 2017, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And in that change of label, the basis of the request was November of 2017, correct?
That is correct, Your Honor.
And in that change of label, the basis of the request was the finding about the increased risk for seronegative patients, correct?
That's correct, and this was done from a supplemental analysis by using a newly developed assay by the University of Pittsburgh, able to determine what is the serostatus of the vaccinee prior to the vaccination.
When did Sanofi come across information or the finding that there is a risk posed to seronegative patients?
As mentioned previously this morning, we are doing regular follow-ups. Up to March 2017, the risk in the 9+ population in terms of seronegative versus seropositive was not seen, and it's only following the IDMC, so Independent Data Monitoring Committee, conclusion in November 2017, then we had these results, Your Honor.
Was that the first time that Sanofi came across information about the risk to seronegative patients?
In terms of safety difference between seronegative and seropositive, Your Honor.
Are you familiar with this issuance by the World Health Organization dated July 2016?
We are, Your Honor, and as previously stated in this hearing and the previous one, this is when there was this WHO proposal to study for additional impact in between seronegative and seropositive, that we duly took into account this recommendation and did this additional supplemental research, Your Honor.
So you're familiar with this sentence here in this report, if I may quote, vaccination may be ineffective or may theoretically even increase the future risk of hospitalized or severe dengue illness in those who are seronegative at the time of first vaccination, regardless of age.
And that's because there is may before the verb in the sentence you've just read, that there was the request to do further study and analysis, and this is exactly what we have done, Your Honor.
So you confirm that this statement, that Sanofi was aware of this statement in this 2016 report?
We are aware of this hypothesis, and indeed, based on this hypothesis and this statement, we have followed dutifully in terms of making sure that we were finding evidence and data to respond to the question, Your Honor.
So there is conflict in your statement when I asked you, when did Sanofi come across information that the vaccine may have negative or high-risk effects on seronegative patients? Because you said you only came across that information in March of 2017, whereas now you are confirming that this report of July 2016 was also in your awareness.
That's the difference, Your Honor, between assumption, hypothesis, and scientific data evidence. And what I just said to you is that the evidence was generated in November 2017. Obviously, before that, we also had some evidence, and the latest evidence check we had in terms of safety profile between seronegative and seropositive was done in March 2017, so way after the WHO point of summer 2016, showing that there was no observed increased risk in seronegative 9 years and above versus seropositive. This is why, even as of end of Q1 2017, there was no reason to worry on this. And when we finally did the final analysis of the supplemental analysis, in November 2017, we got the results and we disclosed it immediately.
Meaning to say that Sanofi, in spite of getting this information from the World Health Organization in July of 2016, decided to push through with the implementation of the vaccine in the Philippines, knowing fully well that there could be an eventual finding of an increased risk to seronegative patients. Did you not advise the Philippines, the Republic of the Philippines, that there could be a reason or there could be a basis for this statement of the World Health Organization that there is risk? Shouldn't Sanofi have erred on the side of safety rather than on the side of profit?
So again, in the same paper that you have probably read from WHO, Your Honor, you've seen that in high endemic setting like the Philippines, the WHO is also clearly stating that there is significant benefits from using Dengvaxia versus not using it. What you are referring to, I believe, in the summer 2016 statement from the WHO is the request for further studies, not preventing use of the product, because the product has been shown in absolute value to significantly impact and reduce dengue disease. But yes, it's asking for any research, any development. There is always more science that can be generated. And one of the possibilities of studies was mentioned, and indeed, that's what we did, Your Honor.
Is it the philosophy of Sanofi to proceed with implementation of vaccination, even if there is already a raised warning of possibility of risk to patients receiving it?
Again, Your Honor, as I was mentioning, in the same WHO statements, WHO was recognizing the benefits of using in 2016 and in 2015 Dengvaxia in either private or public settings. We, as Sanofi, have developed a product following strict compliance guidelines with the highest ethical standards of product development, providing data to every single national regulatory agencies, and this data, as soon as available, was always provided, and that's what led to registration, that's what led to use. And similarly, when we had new data and proposals for further studies, we did new studies, and as soon as we have results, we provide it to everybody, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, in simple terms, and for us Filipinos, I think the simple conclusion we can make here is that in spite of Sanofi coming across information that there is potential risk for recipients of the vaccine, they did not make any effort to inform the Philippines, or at least restrict implementation of the known vaccination program that was going to be implemented. Instead, they waited for their own results several months later after the program has been implemented. exposing Filipinos to risk. That would be all, Mr. Chiong.
Just to clarify again, Your Honor.
No need to clarify, because we already got your reply.
I'd still like to clarify, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, may I proceed to the next point?
Please do.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Now, considering this report, I would like to ask the Department of Health. I don't know who would be able to answer this. The awareness of what is contained in this 2016 WHO report, which talks about the risk to seronegative patients. What was the action taken by the DOH?
Your Honor, I inquired about the safety signals, and I was informed that it was for the younger age group, and that was basically the reason why the World Health Organization was explaining the age coverage for the vaccine to be given was pegged at 9 to 45 years old.
At this point, is the DOH capable of determining who? I mean, when I say determining who, I mean the identities of those who received the vaccine.
Your Honor, for my part, when the immunization was started, a database was maintained, and I was informed upon my stepping out of office that it was intact.
Yes, the current DOH.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Chair. We now have the master list that came from the Department of Education, and then we are double checking to make sure these are the people who are vaccinated. For the school-based, we are almost complete with the validation of the list, and as of Friday last week, about 88% of the list has been validated. We're just checking on those who are done in the community-based programs at this time.
Okay, so by individuals, we are able to identify.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay. Now, we are seeing in media the discussions about autopsies, trying to determine who really are victims, if we can call them victims, of Dengvaxia. I presume that these are all for the efforts of determining if there is some sort of legal liability from certain parties, whether it's Sanofi or other individuals. But there seems to be some sort of confusion. Now that the objective is for government to be able to go after persons responsible, but somehow we are seeing government agencies stumbling on each other in conflict. May I ask, who really is in charge to do this? And by what directive is that entity or person given that authority or appointment to be in charge?
Thank you. Mr. Chair, the Department of Health under Secretary Duque is doing all of the technical and scientific examination, including the clinical records of the cases, the fatalities of from Dengvaxia recipients. On the other hand, sir, I think the DOJ has also mandated the Public Attorney's Office to give legal support to these cases. And in fact, the reason why the Secretary left right now is that he is meeting with the Department of Justice because the Secretary feels that it will only be through cooperation among the government agencies that we can really truly understand both the clinical and pathologic side of these cases and come up with a very good and solid findings and conclusions.
That is the purpose of the meeting this afternoon.
Yes, sir.
Okay. We are just hoping that there would be a formal mechanism that would be established to pinpoint who would be the team leader of all of this, so that we can also put them into accountability for whatever result will happen. Because as it is, it seems like government is just really not working in sync with each other. Okay, we will just await the result of that meeting, Mr. Chairman, so that we can proceed with regard to finding out if there are really any entity or individual who will be held legally responsible for this. For now, that would be all, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Representative Yason. We'll now go back to the earlier question of Representative Acop. I believe that former Secretary Garin has already been shown of the letter. So can you please proceed with your line of questioning, Representative Acop?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I know if the good secretary would be able to answer questions already after she has read the letter of the ambassador to France?
Willingly, Your Honor.
Thank you. Therefore, you would confirm that you met with Sanofi officials on 2 occasions in France. The first one was in May 13 to 15, and the second one was in December 1, 2015.
Your Honor, I know one meeting was in May, the other one is December. For the specific day, I would go back to my notes because my note says December 2 and the other one says May 15. But yes, Your Honor, I confirm the 2 meetings.
And therefore, since 2014 up to 2015, before there was a declaration of savings, pinag-uusapan na po ng gobyerno yung pag-procure ng dengue vaccine.
Your Honor, even before I came to the Department of Health, it was already being discussed because based on the World Health Organization global strategy on the reduction of dengue morbidity and mortality, future vaccine implementation was declared way back in 2012.
Thank you. Kung napag-uusapan na pala since 2014 at nagkaroon na po ng decision, bakit po napakadali ng pag-procure all the processes na ginamit sa pag-procure ng vaccine? May kakulangan po. Number 1, yung mga tinanong na ni Honorable Liachon na para bang this is the fastest procurement of medicines for DOH. Kasi doon sa Committee on Health, tinignan din namin yung form ng informed consent. May kakulangan pa rin doon. So, if this has been in the table for so many years, bakit kaya yung pag-implement napakadali? Yun po yung katanungan ngayon na nasa aming isipan, if that is the case, Madam Secretary.
Your Honor, the records will speak for itself. Since day one that this was being discussed, I was very firm in saying that if the funds will be coming from the Department of Health, we will not implement it because it will affect other programs. Hindi naman po namin akalain na magkakaroon ng savings sa miscellaneous personal and benefit fund. The information was conveyed to me by the Department of Finance that the possibility of being able to carve out funds from MPBF was sometime in December, and that paved way for the department to put forward proposals, most of which were not funded. With that, Your Honor, be that as it may, ang akala kasi nung iba na minadali talaga, walang pera before at nagkaroon. That's true. The prioritization of programs in the Department of Health, we have a lot of priorities. Unfortunately, the usual bottleneck that comes towards the point of implementation is the availability of funds. And when this happened, we were informed to submit programs that are in the pipeline but is not included in the 2016 General Appropriations Act. And that was how the dengue vaccine became a program funded in 2015 savings but implemented in 2016. There were actually 2 parameters. First, it's in the pipeline for 2017, but it's not funded in 2016.
Thank you. May I ask whoever is the appropriate officer of the DOH, would you please give this committee the number of years that we have spent before all the vaccinations included in the expanded program of immunization na-approve at saka nagamit? Para may compare po natin talaga, if you say na hindi mabilis ito, may request the appropriate person from the DOH to give this committee yun pong process. Ilang taon bago na-approve yung vaccination para sa pneumonia. Ilang taon ang proseso sa pagbili ng yung unang vaccination para sa diarrhea. Kasi meron pong una bago yung rotavirus ilan? Para may compare natin talaga kung gaano katagal ang kwan. At may kumpara natin kung ilang taon itong mga vaccines na ito under the EPI at saka itong dengue vaccine. Sino po kaya doon sa
I think
DOH ang
Dr.
makakasagot
Ducusin
niya?
may answer that question, considering that she's in charge of the immunization program.
Thank you, Your Honor. I don't have with me the dates of each of the vaccine na introduce po sa immunization, pero ang natatandaan ko po ay isa po yung sa rotavirus vaccination noong hindi ko matandaan kung anong year po yon. 2010 po, sir. Okay. Opo. Basta po ang natatandaan ko po yun, meron po isang ASEAN convention po doon sa Tagaytay, wherein po the former Secretary Ona was the keynote speaker, at saka po yun po ay ni-launch po yung rotavirus vaccination po.
Mr. Chair.
That was January.
With the indulgence of our resource person, ang hinihiling ko lang po, isubmit nila dito sa committee yung number of years o months na na-process ang bawat vaccination or vaccine na included in our expanded program of immunization. Para makita natin talaga
comply po with your request.
Thank you very much. Mr. Chair, I have requested an invitation to be given to Dr. Rose Capeding, Ms. Hazel Choca, and Ms. Hacia Ramiso. May I know if they are present this afternoon, Mr. Chair?
Yeah, they are present. I believe so. Oh, okay. Have you taken your oath? Yes. Okay. You can now proceed with the questions.
Thank you, Mr. Tatlo po kayo. Nasaan po yung isa? Nandun. First question, are you related to one another?
I'm Dr. Rose Capeding. Yes, we are related, Your Honor.
Ano po yung relasyon ninyo sa bawat isa?
Hacia is my niece.
Yes. The other one?
And Hazel is also my niece.
Okay.
Yes.
And both of your nieces work with Sanofi?
No, Your Honor. Hacia is the project coordinator of the clinical trial, and Sanofi and Hazel works with Sanofi.
So both of you work with RITM?
I'm an employee of RITM.
Yes.
And Hacia is under my employ,
Yes.
under the clinical trial team.
And your other niece is with Sanofi?
With Sanofi, Your Honor.
Oh. And Doctora, you were the one commissioned to conduct a study dito po, yung
Yes.
clinical test.
Yes, Your Honor.
Tama?
I'm one of the 36 principal investigators who conducted the dengue vaccine study.
Correct me if I'm wrong. The RITM.
Yes,
Tama
Your
po.
Honor.
You said that when they conducted the clinical trials, you did not look into whether the patient was seronegative or seropositive, as the clinical trials are about including participants who are healthy. It is only in the analysis that there is a section on seronegativity or seropositivity looking into the efficacy. In response, Dr. Dance gave a response. Ano po? In the study of Dr. Capeding, they were not able to get enough subjects who underwent the testing. But in that small subject, they have shown that there is higher efficacy of around 70% among It's the government.
Sanofi is the sponsor for the clinical trial.
Okay, and you do not see any conflict of interest insofar as this issue is concerned, Doctora?
Yes, Your Honor.
Wala.
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you po. Let's go to Sanofi, Mr. Triumph. You were present doon po sa meeting. You were present in the meeting held December 1, 2015. Salle Lumiere, Hotel Scribe.
That is correct, Your Honor. I was present to the 20-minute courtesy visit we had on December 1st in Hotel Scribe.
Yes. How many vaccines are you supplying to the Philippines?
I need to check the exact number, but over the last few
You have polio?
Over the last few decades, we have provided many vaccines.
No, do you have vaccines for polio being sold to the Philippines?
Yes, polio, influenza, but we have also many pediatric combination vaccines. We have Japanese encephalitis.
Kindly answer my question. Polio. How about vaccines for pneumonia? Do you have?
We used to provide pneumopolysaccharide vaccines in the Philippines. That was mostly targeting for elderly people. We don't provide it anymore, Your Honor.
How about anti-rabies?
We do provide anti-rabies vaccines.
Yeah. So you still have a business with the Philippine government insofar as other vaccines are concerned?
Similarly to more than 100 governments in the world, Your Honor.
I'm just asking about the Philippines, Mr. Triumph.
So yes, so I'm saying yes, similarly to many other governments.
Thank you. And there is a need really for you to collaborate with the Department of Health.
We are collaborating with all the Department of Health of all these countries, Your Honor, including the Philippines.
Yeah. Thank you. Could you remember that during that meeting, your head, Mr. Leroy, mentioned the following regarding the vaccine, that the vaccine reduces by 80% the risk of hospitalization. Was that made by your head?
Probably it was part of a publication already done. It's part of the phase 3 trial, which was already published information. Both phase 3 trials were published, one in the Lancet and the other one in the New England Journal of Medicine. So this was public information.
As the Honorable Dante Marcoleta said, your answer is very, very kilometric. It could be answered by yes or no only.
I'm sorry, Your Honor. Science is a bit complicated sometimes. I make my best.
Yeah. That the vaccine reduces by 93% the risk of severe dengue cases.
It was also part of the publication that was published, public information, and probably mentioned in the meeting because it was public information.
Yes, that's part of your advertisement. Tama? Right?
Has nothing to do with advertisement. That's clinical research, Your Honor.
Yes. It works against 4 serotypes of the virus.
That's correct, Your Honor.
Okay. Doktora, kailan nangyari yung clinical trials ninyo?
The enrollment was last June 3, 2011 for the Philippine children.
2011?
Yeah.
And therefore, Sanofi would have known that the vaccine was effective only on seropositive patients.
No, Your Honor. The clinical trial had 2 phases. We have the active efficacy phase and then the long-term surveillance phase. So the active efficacy phase was from 2011 to 2014, and then the next phase was the long-term surveillance phase. So from the active surveillance phase, we published the results, and it showed regarding its efficacy. And that's where, actually in the publication, there was an information that there was lower efficacy in the very young children.
Yeah. The answer of Dr. Dance that in this, you have a very small subject insofar as the higher efficacy rating is concerned. And or around 70% among patients who are seropositive, doon po kayo nagkaroon ng success. Tama po?
We didn't look into the sero status, whether the patient had previous infection or not, when we started the efficacy phase, because, to Your Honor, we used the recommended WHO test, which is the PRNT test. It cannot detect whether the antibodies is due to the past dengue infection or to vaccination.
And therefore, in your study, you did not know whether it would be effective more on seropositive patients or seronegative patients?
Yes, but yes, Your Honor.
That was in 2014? Yes.
We ended November 2013, but there...
We go to Mr. Triumph. One of the statements mentioned by Mr. Leroy during that meeting was that it works better with population who already have contracted the dengue virus. It works better with population who already have contracted the dengue virus. Stronger efficacy for those who have already been infected. So, on December 1, 2015, you already knew that it is more effective on seropositive patients.
As mentioned,
would that not have been, please let me finish first, because I haven't finished my question. Would that not have been a red flag for you to conduct more studies before you would have sold it to the Philippine government?
Thank you for the question, Your Honor. As mentioned this morning and at the previous hearing, this statement was just public information and it was public data available. Indeed, it was the difference in terms of efficacy between the efficacy measured in the seronegative versus the efficacy measured in the seropositive. As mentioned before, in terms of safety difference, not efficacy, safety, in terms of safety difference, there was no observed difference in terms of safety between the seronegative population and the seropositive population in the 9 years and above population, Your Honor. So therefore, the data we had at that time was showing, yes, less efficacy, even though statistically significant efficacy in the seronegative, but less than in the seropositive. However, no difference in terms of safety data, Your Honor.
For the information of everybody, para malaman po nila kung ano po yung pinag-usapan doon, ano. And I would like to quote the report of the ambassador. Mr. Leroy mentioned that Sanofi Pasteur created an industrial site to produce the vaccine. The facility has the capacity to produce 100 million doses a year. Normally, large-scale production of vaccine is done 5 to 10 years after vaccine development. Previously, the Western developed countries had first access to vaccines. This is the classical model of vaccine production. Now, however, Sanofi Pasteur will be able to immediately produce on a large scale the dengue vaccine, and there is no need to wait for the 5 to 10 years. The vaccine will now be offered first to countries where there is a higher incidence of dengue cases. This is in keeping also with the clear objective and global strategy of the WHO to reduce dengue mortality by 50% in 2020. This is correct.
I cannot recall word for word, but the spirit is probably correct, yes.
Yes. Now, does France use this vaccine?
As mentioned previously, France is part, in terms of regulatory agency, is part of the EMA, European Medicine Agency, and therefore it goes to a centralized process of registration. This vaccine has been submitted to the European authorities for registration and has not been approved yet.
It is being used?
By definition, not, Your Honor, because it has not been licensed, so it cannot be used, Your Honor.
Yes. Why? Why is it? Why? Because
it has
the
not
process of registering it takes a very tedious process.
If I may, Your Honor, as mentioned earlier this morning, I cannot speculate why European agency has not done it. One probable cause is the fact that you understand that it's European Medicine Agency, so the overall countries of European Union, and therefore, as a consequence, many of these countries are not so immediately interested in a dengue vaccine that is licensed and indicated for people living in endemic countries. And of course, European Union is not endemic to dengue disease, Your Honor.
It's also included in the report. And I would like implementing for France, okay? Implementing a general population vaccination recommendation before the European Commission approves marketing authorization would be difficult as part of the existing procedures. And maybe that's the very reason why dengue is not being used in the French territories in America. Correct?
I don't think so. If I understood correctly this statement, it's saying that we cannot use a product before registration, which I believe is proper. So registration seems to be required for any use of product unless extraordinary conditions.
Mr. Chair, marami pong salamat. We provide the time for the others.
Yes, of course. May I recognize the next interpellator, Representative Arlene Brosas?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, manifestation lang po na ilang bahagi, no? Actually, this representation is asking kung bakit, ano talaga yung nagdadrive sa atin for people's actual health needs and what is the primary driving factor in addressing a public health like dengue, no po? In an obvious effort to fast-track dengue vaccine, Sanofi Pasteur made premature and, we think, exaggerated claims of safety and efficacy, citing mainly clinical trials in Asia and Latin America, which they themselves sponsored and with their scientists directly involved in the studies. This fact alone should be a red flag for our government, pero hindi pa rin. Actually, hindi nga naging skeptical eh. Tinanggap pa rin natin, no? Specifically dito sa dengue vaccine na ito. The danger of premature approval and use of dengue vaccine for mass inoculation was in fact pointed out earlier. Sinabi na naman ng mga ilan na ito talaga yung premature siya kasi nilagay siya agad. Ginamit siya agad. In fact, October 4, 2016, the Health Sciences Authority of Singapore approved the use of dengue vaccine for individuals aged 12 to 45 years old. It was not, however, made part of the country's national vaccination program as it would not be a clinically and cost-effective means to tackling dengue infection in Singapore. The HSA strongly recommended to those interested in getting the vaccine to consult their doctors who may consider a blood test to determine their past infection status. So the vaccine is more effective in those who had previous dengue infection and that there is a postulated risk of severe dengue in those who after. Na-approve pa rin at kung bakit nag-o-occur sa atin ito. Samantalang kahit pa po sabihin natin na yung vaccine ay kailangan or essential, kailangan pa rin ng rigorous safety assessment, including adequate, randomized, and placebo-controlled clinical trials must be undertaken. An honest-to-goodness risk-benefit assessment must be performed before any mass vaccination can be done. Adherence to the precautionary principle is a must, especially if lots of people are expected to be exposed to the invasive vaccination procedure. In short, it is evident that in the dengue vaccine case, such precautionary assessment was not done properly. Even yung fundamental ethical principle po, na first, do no harm. Yun yung nalabag. At kanina po, napag-uusapan yung tungkol sa ano talaga yung tugon. Later, mainly po yung questions ko ay sa Department of Health. Later po. Pero iniisip din namin kung talagang vaccine ba yung sasagot sa ating problema sa dengue. Sinabi nga natin kanina na pang-ilan yung dengue sa, pang-ilan po yun? 12? No? Sa mga diseases. Sinasabi, meron din mga studies na nagsasabi, one would find that the deaths from common infectious diseases in developed countries declined quite remarkably since the 1900s until the 1950s and 1960s, even before vaccines were introduced to combat these diseases. Significant improvements in socio-economic development, nutrition, public sanitation, and other social determinants of health were shown convincingly to be mainly responsible for the decline in mortality. So claims of vaccine efficacy were grossly exaggerated, data manipulated, and adverse effects concealed from the public. And in many instances, vaccination campaigns resulted in disastrous results. Of course, those are, yun po yung mga pagtingin ng ibang mga scientists, ng ibang mga doctors, na worth din po na tingnan natin. So, this actually, isa lang po ito sa medyo malalapang problema natin sa research. This seems to validate the oft-repeated criticism that the industry-dominated research agenda deliberately avoids looking at the true picture of the vaccine efficacy and safety by avoiding studies of such nature that would really test the safety and efficacy of the entire immunization schedule. Sanofi Pasteur claimed na 2017 lang nila nalaman. This glaring gap in the body of scientific research on vaccines also underscores the importance of truly independent research, which has long been neglected by governments, especially ng gobyerno natin, and international bodies such as the World Health Organizations. So the question of safety is, however, should be the foremost in the minds of program implementers, policymakers, and those who influence them, including international organizations. It is unacceptable on both ethical and scientific grounds to rush a potentially dangerous invasive intervention on the population, no matter how good the intentions are. And actually, we hold responsible the Sanofi Pasteur, the unethical human experimentation, violation of human rights, as provided by the various international human rights instruments, and also the WHO can be considered as accessory to this crime because it basically recommended the use of Dengvaxia for mass vaccination, despite obvious warnings of serious risks, especially under conditions of use in developing countries. Dahil po kalakhan ng mga bata natin, mahihirap yung naturukan. And in fact, bahagi po ng naging Dengvaxia Watch report ng Gabriela, which I will share sa Department of Health. And Mr. Chair, may I read some of the findings that were reported to us on the ground with regards to the Dengvaxia?
We'd like to hear that.
Yes. Nasa average po ng 15 per day ang natatanggap ng Gabriela sa hotline namin. Nasa 300 to 500 ang aming napoprofile. Even with the caravan na ginawa namin, 95% po sa kanila, mga karaniwang naghahanap buhay, manggagawa o di kaya self-employed. Yun po yung Tapos ang mga nagbigay ng reklamo o ulat ay mula sa Metro Manila, sa Southern Tagalog, particularly Cavite, Laguna, Mindoro. CL, Central Luzon, Pampanga, Bicol, Camarines, Visayas, Cebu, Mindanao at Jensan. Yung laman po ng ulat para po sa DOH, yung common side effect daw na sinasabi nila yung mataas, nalagnat, pabalik-balik, sumasakit yung tiyan, nahihilo, parating matamlay, nangangayayat, may rashes, nagsusuka, nabibingi, nosebleed, lumalabo ang mata, nanginginig. Walang dengue pero nung mabakunahan, nagkaroon ng dengue. Yun po yung mga sinabi. Actually, yung mga karaniwan nilang tanong, paano sila gagastos pa para sa pagpapaospital at pagpunta sa mga klinika? Isang kahig, isang tuka lang sila. At hindi naman maipaliwanag sa kanila ng malinaw kung alin yung mga sasagutin ng gobyerno at hindi sasagutin ng DOH. May mga reports po ng, actually ang main talagang reaction na nararamdaman, nag-aalala sila, natatakot, na stress, na trauma, nagagalit. Isa sa mga sinabi rin nila sa mga process na pinagdaanan ng tinurukan, wala pong pulong, orientasyon at information drive sa mga magulang kung ano yung vaccine. Tapos hindi lahat may waiver at hindi lahat may DMC, yung DOH monitoring card ninyo. Samantala, actually, tinatanong din nila kung may master list na para doon sila magre-refer. Yung iba po, paano kung wala sila sa master list at wala naman silang DMC na mapapakita? So yun po yung mga tanong. Sa mga side effect, sa mga naging response, halimbawa sa pagpunta sa health center, ang mga report sa atin, wala silang masabi kundi mag-antay. Sa master list. Meron sa mga ospital pumipila sa ER, nagbibigay ng reseta at laboratory request. Sa mga nako-confine sa hospital, gastos pa rin ng pamilya. So, hirap na hirap po sila kapag nagkakasakit ang mga bata, tapos alam nila na naturukan ng dengue, pero sila pa rin yung kumakargo ng lahat. Ito po ay report natin simula ng December 19 hanggang January 19, 2018. So isang buwan lang po yun na ano. And may mga special case din po na nagsabi na 7 weeks pregnant na bakunahan. At meron ding 7 years old na nagkiklaim na naturukan. So you should know sa DOH kung sino-sino po yung mga ito. So, yung sinasabi po kanina, maganda po sana kung nandito si Secretary Duque kasi sa kanya po directed sana yung questions nung ano. Although sa February 7 naman ay magkakaroon kami ng dialogue with him sa Department of Health. So pwedeng i-present pa rin namin at kasama naman namin ang mga nanay na makikipag-dialogue sa kanya. But so far, yun po, halimbawa, kung walang PhilHealth card, paano po sila? Yun po yung mga tanong. Kung mahina po ang resistensya ng bata at nilalagnat pa ulit-ulit, actually meron po kaming mga bata na sana ay kasama ngayon, si Laika. Ito po ay mga tinurukan sa Bignay, sa Northville. Yung isa po ay pinatawag na ng principal dahil hindi nakakapasok, isang buwan na hindi nakakapasok dahil pa ulit-ulit yung lagnat. Yung isa po ay kasama namin. Actually, pinaakyat ko na po si Aika. Nariyan po ang kanyang nanay at siya ngayon sumama sa atin para marinig po sana kung ano ang magiging sagot ninyo. So, yun po, yung mga walang PhilHealth, paano po sila? Sinasabi niyo po na may budget, pero kapag pumupunta po sila sa klinika at sa ospital, wala naman din pong special lane. Yun ang claim nila. So, yun po yung magandang mga itanong, ano na po yung ginagawa ngayon? Halimbawa, meron ba tayong paraan para mag-supplement pa sa mga bata, magbigay ng vitamins or kung ano para hindi sila magkakasakit? Dahil nga, alam po natin na may kaibahan po kasi yung dati. Yung 4S matagal na pong programa ng ng gobyerno sa dengue. Pero yung kaibahan po, meron kang 800,000 na mga bata na inoculate. Mass inoculation yung ginawa natin. So, sa ano pa pong mga dagdag na kailangan natin talagang gawin para matulungan yung mga nangangamba nating mga magulang at bata. Plus, developing country po tayo, mahirap ang buhay. Kaya minsan, hindi talaga makabili ang nanay ng gamot, hindi talaga makapagpunta sa mga Minsan, kailangan nila talaga, imbis na ipapangkain na lang, ay ipapangpagamot pa nila. So, yun po yung mga questions.
Thank you, Representative Rosas. Actually, taking the cue from the report of Representative Rosas, we already requested some of her questions. We already requested this during the previous hearing. So I would like to reiterate the required documents that have to be submitted to this committee that have not yet been submitted. To DOH, update on the reported deaths of 2 children in Bataan as requested by Representative Garcia. Kung naalala po ninyo, ni-raise ni Representative Joet Garcia yung namatay na 2 bata doon sa Bataan. So he would like to have a report on that kasi accordingly, itong 2 bata na vaccine nito ng dengue siya. So do you have already the report?
Yes, sir, Mr. Chair. As a matter of fact, yung 2 bata po yung kasama sila sa first 14 cases kasama na na-review ng PGH.
So yung 2 bata kasama doon sa 3, sabi mong it could have been a result of dengue siya o hindi, sa 14 lang
yung
sila?
Yung isa po. Yung isa naman po hindi. So anyway, meron po akong case report na maibibigay kay Congressman Garcia.
Okay, could you submit it to this committee
Yes,
Kasi nire-request ni Congressman Garcia. 2, is there an action plan or contingency measures of DOH as outlined by its special committee? Because during the previous hearing, it was mentioned that you're creating a special committee to do an action or to make an action plan, contingency measures. So we'd also like to know. Sabi nga dun sa report ni Representative Arlene Brosas, tinigil na natin yung immunization ng dengue vaccine, anong ipapalit natin? We know very well na very prevalent ang dengue, no? In all several of the regions in the Philippines. So anong ipapalit natin programa ngayon? So we would like to have that action plan ninyo. Do you have it?
Yes, sir. We already have the guidelines and it has been disseminated to the regional office. So yun pong kay Congressman, ngayon po na-identify na natin yung mga bata and the dengue vaccination cards are being distributed to the schools. Kung pong hindi sila kasama sa listahan, pwede po silang pumunta sa RHU or Municipal Health Office to be included in the list. And meron na pong mga green lanes ang ating mga hospitals, especially the public hospitals where the patients, basta po dala nila yung dengue vaccine card nila, they will be given priority. Kung naman pong hindi sila member ng PhilHealth at the time of consultation, at the point of contact sa hospital, they will be enrolled immediately and they will be given the same privileges. Meron na rin pong medical assistance program na funds na naibigay sa ating mga ospital para kung sakali pong may iba pang gastos na lagpas doon sa PhilHealth coverage, ito po yung makakatulong. Ang talaga pong directive the secretaries, there should be no out-of-pocket expenses. Basta dengue vaccine recipient yung pasyente. Kahit po ano yung initial, kahit ano po yung kanyang initial presentation, they will be managed the same.
Okay, 3. Latest update on the dengue situation and whether dengue cases have decreased. So this was again requested by one representative during the previous hearing. So sama mo na siguro yun dun sa action plan. Kasama na yun. Now, there is a fourth requirement. I don't know if this is, if we really need this, but this was required by Representative Salceda during the previous hearing, master list of children vaccinated with dengue vaccine. Do you have that list?
Sir, I think we are ready to transmit the validated copy.
Anyway, transmit na lang ninyo dahil kasama dito sa ano. Then, is there... Totoo ba yung sinasabi ni Representative Rosas na may 7 years old na vaccinate? Because under the program, 9 years old above lang ang dapat i-immunize natin.
Yes, Mr. Chair, there have been reports na binavalidate po namin kasi meron po mga programs na they were done community-based and I guess some very zealous health workers nabigyan po mga bata, minsan kamag-anak po nila na hindi kasama talaga sa target natin na 9 years.
So you have heard of this report?
Yes, sir.
Na merong bata na na-vaccinate below 9 years old?
Opo.
Well, that is a violation of the ikangang program kasi it is very specified na 9 years old above lang. And then to the FEC, list of conditionalities required by FEC to grant exemption to dengue vaccine. Until now, we have not received these conditionalities. Why you granted exemption to dengue vaccine?
We have submitted it in the list of documents, including the minutes of the meeting, but we will resubmit.
Meron na ba?
Yes, sir.
This was passed to me because I asked already the committee secretariat regarding the documents that need to be submitted. So may I know from the secretariat? And then from Dr. Hilton Lam, this was also requested from you, the cost-benefit study.
Yes, sir. I submitted it through email last January, but just in case po, I brought a hard copy.
Okay. Please submit. Turing, pakikuha nga yung ano. We are now on our second round. So we still have interpellators. So may I now recognize, before that, may I acknowledge the presence of Representative Ana Marie Villarasa Suarez, Representative Aurelio Dong Gonzales. May I now recognize Representative Biron? Anyway, he will be coming back. So may I now recognize Representative Sonsing?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I have a question to the OH. The 837,000 are pupils of government schools, public schools?
Mostly public schools, yes, ma'am.
Have you accounted for the ones, the children which were administered vaccination by private doctors?
As of now, ma'am, we have the list is about 30,000 students, children from the private sector, but we have not completed that list because we're still waiting for some more submissions from the private practitioners.
So meaning 837 plus 30,000. Those are the total.
Yes, ma'am. As of now, the list is about 870,000.
Okay. Number 2 question, Mr. Chair. This is addressed to you, Sec Domingo. What will happen? What is your next step? Since there are 3 deaths directly associated with Deng Baksha, are you going to file a criminal case against Sanofi?
Well, Mr. Chair, I think what we're doing now is we want to complete the investigations first on those 14, and then maybe continue on to the other 15, so that we can really establish a direct causality. There's now a causal association between the vaccine and the dengue deaths. But I think the PGH panel, the recommendation is still to do some more tissue samples, some tests for RNA, and for immunoglobulins, for the antibodies for dengue, so that this can really give a more solid and more definitive findings before we do file any cases.
So how long will it take, Yusek?
Madam Chair, Mr. Chair, right now actually we just need to get some samples, and we are told that the tests can be done here in the Philippines in the National Institutes of Health and in RITM. And once we do have the tissue samples and the autopsy specimen, I don't think it will take very long.
So what you're saying is 3 deaths directly associated with Deng Baksha is not enough to file a case against Sanofi?
Sir, ma'am, it is enough, but we just want to make sure it's directly associated with just more evidence.
But you said a while ago that there are 3 deaths directly associated with Deng Baksha. I really encourage you, Yusek Domingo, to file a criminal case against Sanofi. Okay?
Yes, and actually, ma'am, there are more. Of the 6 cases, they also need to be reviewed because they might be also reclassified. Yun kasi, ma'am, yes, yun 6 kasi, ma'am, indeterminate ang classification right now, pending more evidence, pending more tests to be done. So there might be a little more than 3.
You will appease the parents of these children if you will already act on the 3 deaths directly associated.
Yes, Your Honor.
May I move to the PGH conducting investigation right now? Make sure, Yusek Domingo, that there is no conflict of interest.
Mr. Chair, actually, that was very, very rigorous in the selection of the members of the technical panel of PGH. They selected 10 doctors. It took them 2 weeks to find the specialists because a lot of doctors really do have some conflict of interest. But I am assured that of the 10 that are members of the panel, none of them have any connection with Sanofi. None of them have any connection with any other vaccine-producing company, and none of them have ever injected Deng Baksha into their patients, just to make sure that they don't have at the back of their mind some feeling of guilt.
Okay. And is Attorney Fortune included in the panel?
I know for sure that she is not a member of the panel because she is, I think she was a past consultant of Sanofi, so she was not included.
Okay, so make sure lang,
Yes,
Yusek Domingo. Okay, my next question, is it a practice or a policy for DOH employees to be part of being commissioned by pharmaceutical companies to conduct analysis or studies? Is it a policy or practice?
At the RITM, ma'am, I think they would be more knowledgeable on that. But in an RITM, the scientists sometimes really are commissioned to do studies by pharmaceutical companies.
Okay, may I now move to Dr. Kapeding. So you mentioned a while ago that you are connected with RITM. Is RITM under DOH?
Yes, Your Honor.
And is it a practice or policy in RITM that you are commissioned by pharmaceutical companies to conduct studies?
The RITM is the research arm for infectious diseases of the department.
Just answer my question, yes or no. Is it a policy or practice for RITM to be commissioned by pharmaceutical companies?
Yes, Your Honor, we have an executive order to accept commission to do research grants.
For pharmaceutical companies?
Yes.
Do you think
Your
there
Honor.
is no conflict of interest here?
There's an executive order, Your Honor.
From what? From the Secretary of Health? What is that executive order number?
I think it's 637, Your Honor.
And who signed that executive order? From what? From the Secretary of Health? What is that executive order number?
I think it's 637, Your Honor.
And who signed that executive order?
It was
From what? From the Secretary of Health?
together with other 34.
So this is what is that executive
in
order
the Deng
number?
Vaxia. Actually, our clinical trial is not Deng Vaxia. It's CYD14. It's a clinical trial. It's not the Deng Vaxia.
Okay. So you mentioned a while ago that the active study was done in 2011 to 2014, and that there are two phases. The other phase is follow-up phase. So you did not mention what is the coverage of the study for the follow-up phase.
So the active phase was the 2012 to 2013, and then
again, because you mentioned a while ago earlier that the active is 2011 to 2014. So are you changing this? Is it 2012 to 2013 or 2011 to 2014?
I just want to correct, Your Honor. The active phase surveillance was November 2011 to 2013.
Okay.
That's 25 months.
Okay. And then? What about the follow-up phase?
The follow-up, we call it the long-term surveillance phase, and that's from 2014 until 2017.
Okay. So meaning the vaccine was, Deng Vaxia was implemented or was used in the immunization program without finishing the long-term or what Mr. Triumph has mentioned, it's a follow-up phase.
It's a follow-up phase.
Okay. So meaning the follow-up phase, you did not wait for the the follow-up phase or the long-term was completed before the Deng Vaxia was used.
Your Honor, I just want to clarify, ours was a clinical trial. We have nothing with regards to the vaccine school-based implementation.
But FDA is using the result of the studies of Dr. Kapeding for the approval of the registration, right? FDA? So yes. And that is about Deng Vaxia.
Your Honor, can I respond? Yeah. That's correct, Your Honor, but I would just like to specify that for the clinical trial phase 3, that was completed in December 2013. That was the basis of our registration.
Okay.
So the long-term follow-up is not actually part of the review process.
Yes. So, Ms. Lulu, what you're saying is your evaluation of approving, as basis of approving the registration of the product, is based on the first phase which is the active.
Clinical trial phase 3, Your Honor, the active phase.
Okay, the active phase.
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay,
Yeah.
so Dr. Kapeding, I'll go back to you. So the follow-up phase or the long-term phase was completed in 2017. Which month?
For the clinical trial site in San Pablo, it's September 2017. For Cebu, November 2017, because there are two clinical trial sites in the country.
Okay, so my question is, how come that you did not finish the long-term phase or the follow-up phase before you recommended to FDA for the approval of the Dengbaksha?
Your Honor, I just want to clarify. Ours was a clinical trial. We have no part in the decision-making regarding the school-based immunization program.
I did not say that you decided on anything, but I said recommendation because that was the basis of FDA for the approval of the registration of the product. Meaning, Ms. Lulu, you are dependent on the result of the studies, of the clinical studies of Dr. Kapeding.
Your Honor, the RITM is just one of the clinical trial sites of the CYD14 po. There are other countries who actually participated in the clinical trial, and that would include Indonesia, Malaysia, Thailand, and Vietnam.
So are you aware that there is a follow-up or long-term phase?
Your Honor, at the time when the Sanofi submitted the clinical trial, the result of the clinical trial phase 3, it came in two parts, the part 2, part 3A, and then part 3B. For purposes of product registration, the proof of safety efficacy would be enough for issuing the marketing authorization, Your Honor.
So, Ms. Lulu, anong pakiramdam nyo ngayon since lumabas dun sa follow-up and long-term phase that it poses risk?
Your Honor, when we issued the certificate of product registration, it was discussed earlier that the post-market surveillance is part of the requirement. There were 3 studies under post-approval safety studies and post-approval efficacy studies. So the company, whoever it is, they should fulfill the requirements to continuously monitor safety.
Yeah.
And that was actually the reason when they submitted the November 2017 result.
At saka dun lumabas na meron siyang risk.
Yes, Your Honor, that's right. And under the existing regulation, meron po kami sinasabing variation guidelines wherein the company should notify the agency and seek approval of this labeling change po.
So even though the damage is already there, so anong pwede ninyo magawa doon? Because this is chaotic. Kung makausap niyo lang yung parents ng mga magulang.
Your Honor, the certificate of product registration was already suspended in December.
But that's not enough. That's not enough. The damage is already there. You cannot appease the parents by saying we suspended, we will ask for refund, we will file criminal case against Sanofi. That's not enough. So meaning, dapat ang RITM, they waited for that the studies, the clinical studies should be completed before the product was used.
Your Honor, can I just clarify? We have no part in the licensure of the vaccine or drug.
Dr. Kapeding, ikaw nga yung basis nila for approving. So, huwag ka na mag-deny dyan. Yun nga ang basis nila to approve the product registration. Tama ba, Ms. Lulu?
That's correct, Your Honor.
Oh, why are you saying na I don't have participation in the... Ikaw yung basis eh. Ba't hindi ka naghintay nung long-term result or studies?
Your Honor, we are conducting the clinical trial. It's different, so we don't participate in the licensure of the drug, of the vaccine.
Nagtagalog na nga ako eh. So ano pang gusto mong sabihin ko? Ikaw nga
ang basis ng FDA to approve the product registration. Hindi naman yun i-go ng DOH kung walang product registration. So sino ang basis ng FDA? Ikaw. So what you're saying now? Ang sinasabi mo, wala akong kinalaman dyan.
Kasi, Your Honor, ang sa amin kasi, clinical trial yan. So, kaya yung phases na yan na 2 stages, kaya tinuloy namin kasi it's independent, it's beyond ang sa amin. Hindi kami, we have nothing to do with the licensure at saka and decision in terms of
what are you
vaccine
saying?
implementation.
You are independent, tapos you're working with DOH? And then commissioned by Sanofi. Dr. Kapiding, malaki talaga yung role mo dito.
Ang ano lang, I just want to clarify, Your Honor, ang sa amin kasi is clinical trial. So, ang
result nga ng clinical trials mo will be the basis. Ay, Diyos ko, nakalimang beses na ako. Ano ba yan?
Siguro, Your Honor, it's the Sanofi kasi wala kami, have nothing to do with application for licensure.
Come on, you were commissioned by Sanofi. Magkano binayad sa'yo ng Sanofi?
I received 40,000 pesos monthly.
Can you furnish, Mr. Chair? Can we ask Dr. Kapeding to submit the copy of the contract with Sanofi?
Yes, Your Honor.
Okay, so 40,000 ang binayad sa'yo for clinical trials.
It's monthly, Your Honor.
O so, for how many months? Akala ko 40,000 lang eh.
Your Honor, yung...
For how many months? Magko-compute tayo.
So, the study...
so, how much? Total? Ilang years yung study?
Ang study started with 2011
to 2014
until 2017, Your Honor.
O, see? Ang laki pala ng binayad ng Sanofi sa'yo eh. So, ikaw, imagine, here's the conflict of interest. Ang FDA uses your report to approve the registration of the product. Tapos, Sanofi ang nag-commission sa'yo.
Your Honor,
alam nga naman, binayaran ka, imagine, 40,000 times, ilang years to? 40,000 times 12 times
Your Honor,
7 years or 6 years. Alam nga naman, hindi ka maglabas ng positive result, di ba? Grabe naman yun kung maglalabas ka ng negative result. Second question, when you were doing your clinical trials, are you aware of the study of Dr. Halstead about Ceros?
Our clinical trial.
Yes or no?
We are aware.
So bakit hindi mo kinonsider yung Ceros? Sero-positive and sero-negative?
Kasi, Your Honor, there is a protocol, there's a study design paggawa ng clinical trial. There's a study design. So, may mga objectives din doon.
Dr. Kapeding, pareho lang din yan ng plano, nababago din ng plano. Di ba? So, what you're saying is there's a design. For example, magpapagawa ko ng gown. May design, hindi ko nagustuhan. Hindi siya maganda. Then you have to change it. Diba? Kasi importante yung Ceros eh. So since you are aware that of the study of Dr. Halstead about the Ceros, dapat kinonsider mo yon. Ito yung problema ngayon. So aren't you guilty, Dr. Kapeding?
No, Your Honor.
You're not?
Your Honor, we just kasi ito ang sa clinical trial, so meron kami talaga protocol na fina-follow. And it's approved by the Ethical and Institutional Review Board, Your Honor.
Sandali lang, Sisa. Medyo... Dr. Kapeding, kahit in danger na, susundin mo pa rin yung protocol?
Iba kasi Your Honor, ang sa amin kasi yung sa...
So what you're saying, di kahon ka. Hindi ka pwedeng mag-adjust. Kahit in danger na. Tsaka hindi ko talaga ma-accept, Dr. Kapeding, that you are under RITM, under DOH. and you accepted that you were commissioned by Sanofi to do studies in their behalf. So parang what you're saying is hugas kamay ka dito? Hindi ka guilty? Kanina pa kita tinitingnan. Kung alam mo lang yung pakiramdam na umiiyak yung mga parents ng mga tinurukan. Kasi ako, andito si R.D. Gorgolon. I would like to commend R.D. Gorgolon kasi masisipag yung staff niya sa district ko. So ang dami nilang naturukan. So kung pwede ko palang dalhin, pahingi lang ng address mo, dadalhin ko sila sa'yo at kukuyugin ka nila. Ang sabi nila, pwede ba kami ma'am bumili ng Sanofi na Dengvaxia? Ikaw ang una kong paturukan.
Your Honor, I can feel yung anguish at saka fear din ng mga parents.
And now, we are paying assistance to our constituents. Ilan ang pasyente ko ngayon? Alam ni R.D. Gorgolon?
Ang bakuna, Your Honor, ang akin din 3 anak binakunahan ko and received 3 doses of Dengvaxia.
I am just praying walang mangyari sa kanila. Kasi ngayon, the mother of my patient in PJG Talavera keeps on texting me, Ma'am, ano na po ang gagawin natin? So, Dr. Kapiding, please lang, feel the pain of these parents. Okay? I have last question, Mr. Chair. Mr. Triumph, you were saying that you mentioned a while ago that you declined the refund because 3 deaths are not enough to satisfy the refund. So how many deaths do you need to qualify for refund?
I didn't say the second part of the statement you just given me, Your Honor.
You mentioned a while ago.
I didn't say that it was related to number of deaths. No, I didn't say that, Your Honor.
The reason why you declined the refund is because 3 deaths is not enough.
No, I didn't say that, Your Honor. That is not true.
And what will qualify for a refund?
That has nothing to do with this. I've said that we do not provide a refund for your used doses because it will imply that the vaccine is ineffective, which is not the case. The vaccine is effective. Now, in addition to that point,
Excuse me, I have the floor. Okay. You mentioned an example a while ago that for 10 children in a family and 9 is seropositive and 1 is seronegative, it is beneficial for seropositive. You mentioned that a while ago. And it is not beneficial for seronegative. Do you confirm that?
I confirm that.
Okay. Now, did you tell DOH when they bought the Dengvaxia, when you offered Dengvaxia to them, about Seros?
So what we mentioned to DOH...
Yes or no?
What we mentioned to DOH...
Yes or no? Did you mention to them about Seros?
Are you talking about the study of...
Seronegative and seropositive.
So...
Did you tell them that it is beneficial for seropositive but not beneficial for seronegative? Did you tell them? Yes or no? Just yes or no?
Can I provide an answer, Your Honor?
I'm asking for a simple question. Did you tell them about seropositive and seronegative?
We confirmed the fact that we had at that time, which was the fact that the efficacy was different between seropositive and seronegative, which was published data, and we communicated immediately.
To whom did you communicate that?
It was even published data, so everybody in the world...
To whom did you communicate that?
DOH, FDAs of all the countries.
Okay, DOH is a department. Who in DOH?
I will check. We got this information. I don't
Did you personally tell them?
So, for example, as far as I'm concerned...
Did you personally tell anyone in DOH about Seros?
as far as I'm concerned, I was at the December 1st meeting that was mentioned before, for example, in Paris, and indeed, already at that time, we confirmed the difference in efficacy between seropositive and seronegative, and this was, including Secretary Garing was present, it was before the registration of the product, so yes, we confirmed, and we provided all the data in terms of different efficacy. In terms of different safety, there was no difference between seropositive and seronegative in 9 years above at the time of registration.
And how come that there's it poses a risk on seronegative now? You're saying that it poses a risk to seronegative now. You said earlier that there is no difference on safety and efficacy for positive and negative, and now you came up with statement that there's it poses a risk on seronegative.
No, Your Honor, so let me re-explain, and I've been consistent throughout. So
because your answer is very long, make it short.
I'm working on it, Your Honor. So, on 1st of December 2015, before registration of the product in the Philippines, efficacy data, so efficacy difference between seropositive and seronegative was known and communicated. There was, at that time, no difference in terms of safety between seropositive and seronegative in the 9+ population, so in the indicated population. Now, as part of our follow-up, we regularly look at the data quarter after quarter, and in 2015, in 2016, and up to the end, for example, of March 2017, we had no difference in terms of safety between the seropositive or the seronegative. That's why there was no signal and no communication. It's only after the so-called NS1 retrospective analysis, supplemental analysis, that we have done and got the results in November 2017. And as soon as we got the results, in full transparency, we shared it with everybody. Every single regulatory agencies in the world, and every single Department of Health got the data.
Mr. Triumph, when the findings that there is a risk on seronegative, it was already used mass vaccination in the Philippines. So you see, what can you say about that now? Because to me, you could have finished and completed the clinical studies up to the follow-up before you convinced people in DOH.
So let me reiterate, this clinical development plan was done doing studies in more than 10 countries overall, included close to 40,000, enrolling close to 40,000 patients as a full clinical development plan, was done with the highest standards of so-called good clinical practices. The phase 3 trials, for example, were randomized double-blind trials. All these trials were validated by every single national regulatory agencies. They were all validated by ethical committees in each and every country.
Mr. Triumph, whatever you will say here in the hearing, that's nothing, because you came out with a statement that there's a risk on seronegative. So, Yusek Domingo, please find a way to file a criminal case against Sanofi. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Swansing. This is in relation to the interpellation of Representative Swansing. Just came out that Dr. Kapiding had received 40,000 pesos a month from Sanofi for 6 years. And I computed that that's about 2.8 million pesos. Ito ba this is standard practice? Do you allow this DOH? While they are working with DOH, they're receiving compensation from Sanofi, which is a private company. I don't know if the legality of this, but considering that there might be a conflict of interest, medyo illegal to from a layman's point of view. So do you allow this?
As of 2 years ago, sir, I know that there is a circular at the Department of Health wherein all people who wish to join the department should have no conflict of interest and should not be working with any pharmaceutical companies. So ano po, ngayon po talagang wala, no? Kailangan free of conflict of interest before you work with the Department of Health.
So prior to 2 years ago, it was allowed by the DOH.
I would suppose, sir, it's for clinicals, for itong sir mga commission studies, it was allowed, especially in research units like RITM.
Can you give us a copy of that circular, the prohibiting, or is it an executive order or a memorandum circular from the DOH?
It's a memorandum, sir, from the DOH.
From the DOH?
Yes, Mr. Chair.
So, can we have a copy of that para malaman natin? Because it clearly shows that there is a conflict of interest. Sanofi is a private company doing business with DOH, and at the same time, they're giving compensation for the clinical studies being undertaken by Kapiding. So, mahingi po kami. Representative Tan is recognized.
In relation to your question, sir, yun, na-establish na natin, no? Definitely in the past talaga, walang malinaw na nagbabawal that a government employee can engage into a pharmaceutical industries on clinical trials or research. So ngayon, nakita na natin, it all boils down to conflict of interest, no? So, na-affect kami, no? Nakikita namin, somehow, baka nga naapektuhan ang decision. Like yung na-raise ko kanina, the way you analyze the data is favorable to the company, diba? So, sinabi mo, pwedeng gamitin sa, whether it's a seropositive or negative, you can use, it's safe and effective. So, anong action ngayon ng DOH? I think this is, this needs an immediate action from your agency na, okay, tingnan natin lahat yung mga nagtatrabaho, especially sa Department of Health, we're looking into the lives of the people, no? Na dapat talaga may disclosure, no? On that. Or dapat bang bawalan na natin, maglabas na kayo ng memo na you cannot engage in any pharmaceutical industry. Kasi sa medical field,
Dzxl Special Coverage. For the wages of sin is death, but the free gift of God is eternal life in Christ Jesus, our Lord. Romans 6:23. Ang mabuting balita ay hatid sa inyo ng
Mas puti ito! Sa Pride Bar Blue, pwedeng hindi na ako magtina, anyel o bleach dahil ang Pride Bar Blue ay may power whitener na nanunuot sa bawat hibla. Kaya ang damit ay kisla puti at panayan pa sa kamay. Mas puti ito, mas puti ito, mas puti ito. Pride Bar Blue with power whitener. Di lang puti, kisla puti. Pride Bar Blue. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified. World-class quality. ACS.
Ang galing ng #1 Smart Dishwashing Paste, nasa Smart Dishwashing Liquid din. Ang galing-galing sa presyong magaling din. May tanong kami sa mga misis.
Mas importante ba ang paramihan ng hinugasang plato o ang tunay na kalinisan nito?
Hoy, misis!
Kahit milya-milyang plato ang kaya ng dishwashing liquid mo, sa kaunting patak na hinalo sa tubig, sigurado ka bang tanggal ang sebo at bakterya?
Hoy, misis!
Dapat magpaka-smart tayo. Sa Smart Dishwashing, tanggal ang sebo, tanggal ang bakterya.
Tanggaling-galing!
Kaya misis, magpakatotoo. Mag-Smart Dishwashing tayo.
Smart Dishwashing. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified. World-class quality.
ACS. That portion was brought to you by White Rose Kojic Whitening Soap. Dermatologist tested, your Kojic wish come true. Happy ka na ba sa pagpapaputi mo?
Don't you wish the regular Kojic soap you use gave you more?
When there's a wish your heart believes.
Ang wish mo, nandito na. Introducing new White Rose Kojic Whitening Soap. Dermatologist-tested Kojic Whitening na may shea butter for moisturizing and tea tree oil to help prevent pimples. Para sa Kojic na puti at Kojic na kinis. New White Rose. Your Kojic wish come true. Suggested retail price, 25 pesos for 60 grams. White Rose Kojic Whitening Soap. Manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified. World-class quality.
ACS.
One of the biggest selling comedians on the planet will return to Manila.
Hey, listen, Manila, it's your favorite Mumbai.
Russell Peters, live. The Deported World Tour, featuring all new material.
And my dad looks at me and he goes, "That is disgusting."
March 10, PICC Plenary Hall. Russell Peters, The Deported World Tour. Tickets at smtickets.com and regular outlets. From Fox Life, AEG presents Ovation Productions and Dzxl 558.
I hope to see you all there. Salamat.
Ang detergent mo ba dumatagal ang bango even after 24 hours? Kung hindi, magpalit ka na.
Ang bango-bango, ang bango-bango, ang bango ng detergent ko.
Sa pabanguhan ng detergent with Fabcon, ano nga bang mas gusto? Ayon sa research sa Metro Manila, halos 80% ng mga misis mas gusto ang bango ng Pride with Fabcon kaysa leading brand even after 24 hours. Dahil ang Pride may tuloy bango microbeads para sa bangong tuloy-tuloy buong araw.
Tuloy-tuloy bango.
Kaya misis, tuloy na sa Pride with Fabric Conditioner.
Tuloy-tuloy bango ng Pride with Fabcon ko.
Ituloy ang bango with Pride. Pride with Fabric Conditioner, manufactured by ACS Manufacturing Corporation. ISO certified. World-class quality.
ACS.
Dzxl Newsbreak.
Mga kasama, narito ang mga balita sa oras na ito. Ang palasyo dumistansya sa pag-renew ng COMELEC ng kontrata ng Smartmatic para sa 2019 election. Kasama natin sa balita si Radjuman.
Dzxl Report.
Pagkakagalan ng palasyo ng Malacanang ang desisyon ng Commission on Elections sa COMELEC na i-renew ang kontrata ng Smartmatic para sa 2019 midterm elections. Ayon kay Presidential Spokesman Secretary Harry Roque, isang independent constitutional commission ng COMELEC kaya inirespeto nila ang anumang mapagdesisyonan nito. Para naman anya sa mga kumokontra sa desisyon ng COMELEC ay mas magandang question na lang ito sa Korte Suprema sa usapin para maidaan sa tamang proseso. Matatandaan na mismo si Presidential Advisor for Political Affairs, Secretary Francis Tolentino, ang nagbunyag na kinuhang muli ng COMELEC ang Smartmatic na hindi anya dumaan sa public meeting kung saan tinatawag niya itong isang midnight bill. Kasama mo sa palasyo ng Malacanang, Radyo Mandayo de Guzman ng Dzxl 558 sa Takaronan.
At ang liderato naman ng Senado kinontra ang hirit na investigasyon sa umano'y tagong yaman ng Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte. Kasama natin sa balita si Radyoman Grace Verhelman.
Dzxl Report.
Iginit ngayon ni Senate President Coco Pimentel na magiging pagsasayang lang ng oras ng Senado ang hirit ni Senator Antonio Trillanes IV na imbestigahan ang umano'y mga bank accounts ni Pangulong Rodrigo Duterte at anak na si Mayor Sara Duterte Carpio. Diin ni Pimentel hindi ang Senado ang tamang lugar para pagbigyan ang hiling ni Trillanes. Dagdag pa ni Pimentel na una nang pinaimbestigahan sa Senado ni Trillanes sina Paulo Duterte at Mans Carpio at ngayon ay iba namang miyembro ng pamilya ng Pangulo. Hamon ni Pimentel, iakyat ni Trillanes ang isyu sa korte kung meron itong sapat na ebidensya sa halip na gamitin ng Senado para malagay sa mga balita. Sagot naman ni Senator Trillanes, masyadong nininervyos agad si Pimentel para sa amo niya. Sabi pa ni Trillanes, valid ang resolution na kanyang inihain at tugon yon sa hamon mismo ng Pangulong Duterte na imbestigahan ng Senado ang kanyang mga bank accounts. Kasama mo sa Senado, Radyoman Grace Mariano ng Dzxl 558, Katap, Arene.
Mas maraming mga balita mga kasama sa Facebook, RMN News Nationwide at The Sound of the Nation. At sa Dzxl 558 Manila. At follow us sa Twitter, twitter.com/newsrmn. At watch us live sa YouTube, Dzxl 558 live stream. Visit our website, rmn.ph. Samantala pahabol na balita mga pari, binanata ni PNP Chief Ronald Bato de la Rosa matapos ang pahayag ng CBCP na theatrics o sobrang nagdadrama ang PNP sa pagsasagawa ng Oplan Tokang. Kasama natin sa balita si Radyoman Reyes.
Dzxl Report.
Umalma at binatikos ni PNP Chief Ronald de la Rosa ang mga pari at obispo dahil sa naging pahayag ng isang obispo na theatrics o sobrang nagdadrama ang hanay ng Philippine National Police. Recognized sa plano ng Eastern Police District na magdadala na sila ng Biblia at Rosaryo sa pagsasagawa ng Oplan Tokhang. Buwelta ni General Bato sa mga pari at obispo, hindi lang sila ang may karapatang maghawak o humawak ng Biblia at Rosaryo. Sinabi pa nito na sa halip na palakasin ng Catholic Bishop Conference of the Philippines and Roman Catholic Religion ay inilalayo nila ang katulad niyang Katoliko sa kanilang relihiyon. Inamin din ni De La Rosa na sumama ang kanyang loob sa naging pahayag ng CBCP lalo't religious group ito. Kaugnay nito, wala namang problema kay De La Rosa ang plano ng EPD na magbitbit ng Biblia at Rosaryo, lalo't kung makakatulong ito para mahikayat ang mga drug personalities na magbagong buhay. Kasama mo sa Kampo Krame Radyoman, Rhea Mamogay ng Dzxl 558 sa RMN.
Maraming salamat, Radyoman Rhea Mamogay, sa mga extra large na mga balita. Ako si Radyoman Lourdes Estar.
Private to what examinations they are doing and what results there are, so we cannot give an opinion until we see.
So for the longest time that they have been investigating, they have not given you any report, any result of their own investigation?
None, Your Honor.
But you know, you see reports of POW everywhere. You know, you see that every day in the newspaper. So how relevant it is to the Department of Health?
Sir, we've been writing them and asking them, but there are no written reports, sir. You can see it in the newspaper and on TV, but we have not seen any actual.
Yes, obviously, at USEC, I think your office has to coordinate properly with POW because it creates confusion to the public. It's not only confusion, but it's scaring everybody because POW independently makes its own statement that all the deaths that happened were all attributed to Deng Vaxia.
Yes, Your Honor. We really want to work with them. And
that's all, Mr. Chairman. Thank you so much.
Yes, this is again in relation to the interpellation of Representative Biron. We know very well that DOJ is conducting an investigation. The POW is also conducting its own investigation, and DOH likewise. So there are three simultaneous investigations that is ongoing. So I am now directing the committee secretary to include the POW on the next hearing, to include also DOJ, because as what Representative Romy Acop has stated earlier, there must be coordination among these three agencies. Kasi paano mangyari niyan kung ibang findings ng DOJ, ibang findings ng DOH, then ibang findings ng POW? That could create a problem. What if, let's say, this for purposes of discussion, what if one agency released a finding that is contrary to the other agency? What if one agency would release a finding that would exonerate Sanofi Pasteur of the responsibility? So there will now be a conflict of results. So therefore, there is a need for POW to be present in the next hearing in DOJ, so we would also know the status or any update with regards to the investigation. Sa DOH, naglabas na kayo. You are now already conducting the 14 deaths, pero yung 15 na lang. So they will be included in the next hearing, the new invitees. Before I recognize the next interpellator, I have a question to the DBM. We have already established that the purchase of Deng Vaxia was sourced out from the savings of General Appropriations Act of 2015, hindi po ba? Now, I was looking at the National Budget Circular number 559, Guidelines for the Realignment of Funds under 2015 GAA, which I would like to read. As a general rule, department or agencies must spend what is programmed in the respective appropriation. Therefore, any realignment would be an exception to the rule. In all cases of realignment, the existence of an object of expenditure in the allotment class within the same program activity project or PAP is necessary, provided that the realignment will not result to an increase in the amount of appropriation for said PAP. Now, according to you, your earlier statement, the 3.5 billion pesos, which 3 billion pesos was spent for the purchase of Deng Baksha, and the 554 million was reverted to the Treasury. This was sourced out from miscellaneous and personal benefits. This runs contrary to your National Budget Circular number 559. It is clearly specified that the allotment class should be with the same program, activity, and project. The purchase of Deng Baksha is not in any way related or connected to the personal benefits. Para ito pagbayad sa mga personal benepisyo, anong connection doon sa pagbili ng Deng Baksha? So you are violating the Budget Circular number 559. What is your comment on this?
Thank you, Your Honor. I think there's also a portion in that circular. I don't have a copy, but I can recall that there's also a portion of that circular that reiterates the general provisions which allows the Office of the President to use to augment deficient PAPs. I would recall. There is a section in the GAA 2015, General Provision 70 and 71. 70 on the availability of savings, if I may quote, Section 70, General Provision 10651, 2015 GAA, it provides that savings may refer to available balances of appropriations arising from unused compensation and related pertaining to unfilled, vacant, or abolished positions, 2, non-entitlement to allowance and benefits, number 3, leave of absence without pay, and number 4, unutilized pension and retirement benefits. And under Section 71, Your Honor, it states that savings may be used to provide additional funding to cover an actual deficiency incurred for the current year in any existing item. Doon po sa section kanya po, in the case of Maria Carolina Araulio et al. Benigno Sigmion Aquino III, in the case of DAP, the Supreme Court recognizes savings from personal services appropriations such as the 2015 MPBF. In this wise, if an agency has an unfilled position in its plantilla and did not receive an allotment in NCA for such vacancies, appropriations for such positions, although unreleased, may already be considered as savings for that agency under the second instance. And also, Your Honor, what I have quoted is contained in our letter to your committee last August 7, 2017, Your Honor.
You mentioned maraming provisions yung minention mo. But from what I gather, you can only realign if there is an existing item. You mentioned that, di ba? In this case, under GAA, 2015 GAA, is there an existing item for the purchase of Deng Baksha? Kasi ikaw na mismo nagsabi, you can only realign if there is an existing item. Wala naman doon sa GAA. In fact, we have already established nga na it was called out from the savings. And then yung sinasabi nyo pong the President can realign, that is already a circumvention of Budget Circular number 559. Ibig nyo sabihin, under the Budget Circular, there will be conflicting provisions. Hindi siguro pwede po yun. Very clear po dito. I certainly believe, in my opinion, this representation certainly believes that you circumvented the Budget Circular number 559 to accommodate the allocation of 3.5 billion pesos for the purchase of Deng Baksha. Yung po sa tingin kong nangyayari. But of course, we will have to refer this to our legal experts. So what is your comment, ma'am?
Thank you, Your Honor. Let me clarify two things. One, the existing item I mentioned earlier. While Deng Baksha is not included in the 2015 GAA as a specific item, note that the PAP is already existing, the EPI PAP, and that is what is required in the definition and use of savings. Existing po yung PAP on expanded program on immunization. Hindi po nakaline item.
Pero ano nakalagay doon? Hindi nakalagay doon dengue immunization program. Nakalagay doon immunization program.
It's expanded program on immunization. EPI is an existing PAP, Your Honor, and that is what is provided, what is a requirement
Do you
in the
have a copy of the
augmentation
GAA
PAP.
2015 with you today? Kung wala po, can you furnish this committee para we can verify if what you're saying is true? Titignan po natin doon. So, this chair would like to request or directing the DBM to please submit to this committee a copy of the GAA of 2015 and the provisions, and if possible, the National Budget Circular number 559. Kasi nandun pong legal issue natin eh. We want to know whether the allocation of the savings from GAA 2015 is legal or not. Whether it could circumvented circulars or laws, yun po ang titignan po natin.
Mr. Chair?
Yes, Representative Ako.
May I add, I was intending to ask this question when the Secretary of the DBM will appear. However, it is already directly connected with your question, Mr. Chair.
We will be inviting, as moved by certain Representative Atienza. In fact, he did not proceed with the questioning to DBM because he would like to ask Secretary Abad himself. So for next hearing, we have new invitees, and I would like to inform everyone, these are the invitees: the representative from DepEd, Secretary Abad, representative from DILG, Sueleg, PAO, DOJ, and of course DOH. Representative Akop, you now have the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'll just follow up your question to DBM. Ang sabi po nyo, yung item is EPI, Expanded Program of Immunization. Yun po, di po ba? But if you look at the Expanded Program of Immunization of the DOH, the dengue vaccine is not included. So how could that be? That is precisely the issue raised by the Honorable Chair. Paano mahasasama yung kwan doon sa API when in fact even DOH claims that the dengue vaccine is not included in the EPI in the previous hearing sa Committee on Health.
Thank you again, Your Honor. Under Section 71, let me quote it again, in no case shall a non-existent PAP. So the requirement, Your Honor, is the existence of a PAP, which is the EPI. And again, as contained in our letter to the Chair of the Good Governance, let me continue the paragraph. It says, after reading all the general provisions applicable to this case, applying the foregoing in the purchase of anti-dengue vaccines, the savings used, fiscal year 2015 NPBF unutilized amount falls under item 1 of GP 70, while the program, activity, or project PAP augmented is the expanded program on immunization with code 22430-204-0007, consistent with the requirement of general provision number 71.
You are telling us that under the budget item, Expanded Program of Investigation, pwede nang mag-include yung DOH ng lahat ng vaccine na bibilhin. Yun po ang sinasabi ninyo eh. Why? Because although the EPI appears to be an existing line item in the 2015 GAA, which may purportedly be properly augmented by the savings from the MPBF, the dengue vaccination program is not included in the official expanded program of investigation at that point in time. Hindi po ba? Pwede ba yun?
Your Honor, again, let me repeat, under the Section 71 of the general provision, what is a requirement is a deficient PAP. And the PAP that is being augmented is presented and itemized in the General Appropriations Act of 2015 as expanded program of immunization, and therefore po, it is an existing PAP.
Let's grant that, but without accepting it. Yung po bang 3.5 billion na sinasabi po, galing po ba sa savings ng Department of Health?
Again, Your Honor, it was sourced from the savings from miscellaneous personal benefits fund, which is a special purpose fund, Your Honor.
That does not answer my question. Yung sagot po ninyo generally, what I'm asking is very specific. Meron po bang savings yung DOH from the MPBF na amounting to 3.5 billion? The reason why I'm asking this is, I will bring you to the provision of the Constitution. Under Section 25, Article 6 of the 1987 Constitution, babasahin ko na, no law shall be passed authorizing any transfer of appropriations. However, the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the heads of constitutional conventions may by law, I would like to emphasize that, be authorized to augment any item in the General Appropriations Law for their respective offices from savings and other items of their respective appropriations. Emphasize, respective appropriations. So, the transfer of appropriated funds to be valid under Section 25, Article 6 of the Constitution, there must be 3 requisites to be done. Number 1, there is a law authorizing the President of the Senate, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, the Chief Justice of the Supreme Court, and the heads of the Constitutional Commissions to transfer funds within their respective offices. The law is the GAA. So that is satisfied. Tama po? Yes, the law is the GAA, authorizing these people to transfer funds. Number 2 requisite is the funds to be transferred are savings generated from the appropriations of their respective offices. Kaya tinatanong ko po yung tanong ko, yun po ba sa savings ng DOH? Number 3, the purpose of the transfer is to augment an item in the General Appropriations Law for their respective offices. So nasatisfy po ba itong requisites na ito insofar as the 3.5 billion amount is concerned? Yun po ang gusto kong sagot po ninyo.
If I may be allowed to quote from the DAP decision, I think the only contentious issue here is on the phrase respective offices. So to quote the decision po, to be sure the phrase respective offices used in Section 25, Paragraph 5 of the Constitution refers to the entire executive with respect to the President. So hindi po kailangan na savings po ng DOH yung gagamitin as long as within the executive po yung ating savings.
So ang tanong po ni...
So na-comply po lahat ng requisites po.
So ang tanong po ni Representative Acop, yung 3.5 billion pesos, galing ba yun sa DOH na pondo or was it included in the GAA? Walang specific na anong agency. Yung pong tanong niya, galing pa sa DOH yun o dun sa GAA na hindi specified ang agency? I think it was a lump sum, di ba?
Special purpose fund po yun na ang mga uses naman nga po.
So it did not come from DOH?
Hindi po
nakalagay dun sa GAA,
galing sa DOH, pero hindi naman nga po kailangan na galing sa DOH yung savings po na gagamitin ng DOH. Ang importante po is within the executive. Ang pinagbawal po ng Supreme Court sa DAP decision is cross-border transfers, meaning hindi po namin pwede gamitin ng executive yung magiging savings po ng Congress, for example po.
That is why we need to have a copy of that of the GAA, or probably meron siguro tayo dito, Representative Acop, titignan na lang namin. Before I turn over the floor to Representative Acop, you mentioned, ma'am, the provisions or the provision in the GAA, the very clear naman po na nakalagay dito, if not within the it should be with the same allotment class, no, to be transferred sa PAP. But you mentioned may provision doon na pwedeng ang presidente ay mag-authorize para i-allocate po yun, no? So ang tanong ko, if that is the line of reasoning, so short of saying, you're trying to say na inapprovean ito ng former president. Ganun po ba? Because under the provision that you said, it's only the president who can authorize the allocation of the savings.
Yes po. It was authorized by the President po.
Okay, so therefore, sinasabi nyo na it was the former President who approved this. Kasi yun ang provision na ginagamit ninyo eh.
Yes po. I think he also made it clear po that he approved the use of savings.
When he was invited in the
it is very
other
clear, so
chamber.
we want to put it on record that it was the former president who approved the use of the savings for the allocation of the purchase of Deng Baksha. So that is very clear. Okay, Representative Akop.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would like to proceed further. So, yung pong savings na sinasabi, hindi po department, it's the whole executive. Yun po yung interpretation po na galing sa DAP decision.
Yes po.
Yes. Okay. Are you aware of the case of Araulio versus Aquino III?
Yes po,
decided
that's
in
the
2014?
DAP case po.
Yes. And I would like also to read a portion of that since you have quoted a portion of that decision. It must be noted that a strict construction is given by the Supreme Court to the accumulation and utilization of savings. The decision of the court has underscored that the exercise of the power to augment shall be strictly construed by virtue of its being an exception to the general rule that the funding of PAP shall be limited to the amount fixed by Congress for the purpose. Necessarily, savings, their utilization, and their management will also be strictly construed. Again, expanding the scope of the power to augment. Such a strict interpretation is essential in order to keep the executive and other budget implementers within the limits of their prerogatives during budget execution and to prevent them from unduly transgressing Congress power of the purse. Yun po yung kwang ko eh. Napunta na sa inyo yung discretion na mag-allocate po ng savings galing po sa budget for the year. So para bang, kung tinitingnan ko ito, para bang nagbo-border doon sa usurpation of legislative authority. Don't you think, Attorney? Na ganun?
With respect po saan po yung sinasabi pong meron pong violation na po ng usurpation, na meron na pong usurpation. Kasi lahat nga po ng mga nabanggit sa Constitution, including po the President for the Executive, authorized naman po the use of savings. Just like po, authorized din ang Speaker for the House of Representatives and then the Senate President for the Senate. Then andyan din po ang sa judiciary nga po, nandiyan naman din po ang Chief Justice. And then the respective chair of the Constitutional Commission. So kanya-kanya naman po, meron po talagang authority to use of savings ang bawat head po ng constitutional bodies na nabanggit.
Thank you. May I proceed to another issue, Mr. Chair? Following the interpellation of the Honorable Swansing on FDA, pwede po bang matanong ko yung FDA, si Madam Lulu, during your time, what was the protocol for you to approve a certificate for product registration?
Your Honor, for a product to be given a certificate of product registration, we follow specific standards, and that would include as mentioned earlier, the International Conference on Harmonization on the Quality, Safety, and Efficacy Guidelines. There's also a local regulation which is called AO 47 series of 2001, which is the rules and regulation on the registration, including approval and conduct of clinical trials and lot per batch release certification of vaccines and biologics, that was published in 2001. We also have the FDA Circular number 2013-26, which is adoption of the ICH Harmonized Tripartite Guideline, Quality of Biological Products, Stability Testing of Biological and Biotechnological Products. That's all, Your Honor, and including the WHO Technical Report Series po.
Wala pa akong narinig dyan na kailangan yung study ng RITM kasama po doon sa in-enumerate ninyo na basihan ninyo para magbigay kayo o mag-approve ng Certificate of Product Registration. Because it was being emphasized a while ago na para bang yung study ng RITM yung sole basis why you approve the registration of Deng Baksha.
Your Honor, let me clarify po. For the quality, safety, and efficacy, the clinical trial from phase 1 to 3 was part of the requirement under efficacy studies. And for the non-clinical part, we also have the preclinical or the animal studies. So meron pa pong maraming specific studies that they have to comply for them to meet the quality, safety, and efficacy parameters po.
And you admit that the study conducted by RITM would be one of the basis. Tama po?
It's, they
Kasi
actually...
kanina sinabi mo kay Congresswoman Swansing.
Your Honor, clarify ko lang po. RITM is one of the clinical trial sites for the safety for the phase 1, 2, and 3 studies po. Together with Vietnam, Indonesia, Malaysia, and there's another country. There are 5 countries in Asia, Your Honor.
And the study of RITM in which you based your decision to grant the CPR ay nakompleto po.
Nakompleto po nila for the 25-month study, Your Honor.
Okay. So, thank you. Now, currently, how long does it take for a drug or a vaccine to be approved by FDA?
Following our FDA Citizens Charter, we allowed 254 days for any product to be approved. But since this dengue vaccine is a national public concern and also a novel vaccine, it took a shorter period, and that would mean about 11 months, Your Honor, to process the registration.
So tama po yung statement ni Secretary Garin dun sa December 1 meeting that nowadays the period for the processing of CPR will take more or less 1 year.
It's actually bedaquiline, which is an anti-TB drug indicated for MDR-TB cases po. It took 7 months.
Mr. Chairman, just for the record, because bedaquiline was in answer to the resurgence of multi-drug resistant TB. Kaya ang proseso po umabot ng 7 buwan.
Thank you. Last question, Mr. Chair, from the DOH. Could you please provide this representation? What is the case fatality rate, or CFR, for dengue cases with no Deng-Baxia vaccination vis-a-vis CFR of Deng-Baxia vaccinated dengue cases? Do you have statistics on this?
Well, Mr. Chair, we have the national statistics. For 2016 and 2017, it was about 0.5% case fatality rate for dengue. But we do not have yet numbers for our Deng-Baxia na nakahiwalay po. No? We have to compute pa for separate yung ating Deng-Baxia vaccinees.
Could you give the complete answer to my query through a report to the committee on investigating this already?
Yes, Your Honor.
Thank you. Mr. Chair, marami pong salamat.
Before we proceed, may I acknowledge the presence of Representative Raymond Mendoza, Representative Jose Christopher Kit Belmonte, Representative Bernadette Herrera D. The floor now recognizes Representative Swansing.
Mr. Chair, isa na lang. I have a question to Dr. Lam. Dr. Lam, where are you connected right now?
Your Honor, I'm connected with the Institute of Health Policy and Development Studies ng UP Manila, NIH.
Okay. So, you were commissioned by Sanofi to do the cost effectiveness analysis, right?
Opo, Your Honor.
If my memory serves me right, there is a request that you will furnish this committee a copy of your contract with Sanofi.
Yes, Your Honor. I had submitted that during that time po. I can resubmit it po.
Okay. Just for the record, how much did Sanofi pay you for the cost-effective analysis?
The entire cost-effectiveness analysis was a little shy of 3 million, so 2.9 something. Personally, from there, I received 300,000 po. And the others, because it's a team, since I'm not an MD, I have MDs on the team. I have other modelers on the team. Ganon po, ma'am.
And during the time that you were commissioned with by Sanofi for the cost effectiveness, you were what then? Were you in a way affiliated, like for example, consultant of FEC or something?
At that time po, ma'am, I was a member of the FEC.
So, you were a member of FEC and you were commissioned by Sanofi.
Yes.
And you were evaluating Sanofi for the cost effectiveness. So just for the record, ulitin ko lang, tagalugin ko na, no? So, you were commissioned by Sanofi, where at the same time you were a member of FEC.
Yes po, ma'am. I have been a member of the FEC back in 2011, and Sanofi approached me on 2013, and then on June 2014, I sought approval from the FEC to pursue this consultancy. And the FEC granted me the permission to do this on the condition that I will be inhibited from the discussion and in the voting po. And I think in the minutes of the FEC, you would see that I was not part of the discussion nor in the voting po.
Pero meron din siyang connection because though it's not a prerequisite for FDA, it is also part nung tinitingnan nila before they decide, right? Yung FEC recommendation.
Ma'am, it's not a requirement for the FDA, as I understand.
Yes, I just mentioned earlier that it's not a prerequisite, pero in a way, di ba? In a way, tinitingnan nyo ng FDA. So, nakaka-influence din yon. So, siguro, Mr. Chair, this is another conflict of interest where a member of FEC, which is a part of the decision of Deng Baksha, was commissioned by Sanofi for the cost effectiveness. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Representative Tan, interjection of Representative Tan before I recognize Representative Gonzalez.
One last question lang, Mr. Chair. On the specific test for dengue virus, is MAC ELISA serologic test sensitive and specific for dengue virus? Do we have anyone to answer that? Because during the hearing in... Okay, I got this information from Dr. Lansang kasi I asked her to analyze the data that we get from the child who died in Bataan, the one mentioned by Kong Joet. And she mentioned in her letter to me, addressed to me, na yun nga, yung ginawa sa Bataan kasi it's not specific and sensitive as supposed to be na dapat talaga nagawa is the serologic MAC ELISA, which she said is not available in commercial, but there is a specific and sensitive test that you can do right now. So yung kaya ko lang natanong, since kung ma-verify natin na specific and sensitive to, wala tayong magawa but for Sanofi to invest on this as a part of their commitment.
In fact, Madam Chair, even Dr. Lansang also gave me that email, I think, sent me an email. And I told her that, unfortunately, for the first 14 cases, these were deaths from 2016 up to 2017, and we're really just examining records and tests that are available now. But for our newer cases, newer patients who get ill, we have now a strict protocol when to draw blood, what tests to do before, upon admission, and then after discharge to make sure. Pero ito pong mga nauna talaga, even some of the records were really very lacking, kaya po yung iba hindi talaga nila magawan ng proper evaluation. Ma'am, not yet. We are now using still the DOH. Ang DOH po kasi meron siya binibigay na specifications, generic specifications when we bid out our dengue test kits. So they are tested by FDA to make sure that they are within the sensitivity and specificity that we want. But those recommendations of the expert panel, this is the other dengue task force expert panel with Dr. Lansang, are being taken to consideration for our continuing programs. Yes, ma'am.
I would like to inform the members present that we have already submitted a list of members who are attending this hearing so that we will be exempted from the roll call. The chair now recognizes Deputy Majority Floor Leader Aurelio Gonzalez Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Good afternoon to the rest of the persons. In November 9, then President Aquino III meets Sanofi Senior Vice President in Asia Jean-Luc Lewinsky at the Philippine Embassy in Beijing, China. I just read it first, okay? And in June 9, the Health Secretary Janet Garin negotiates with Sanofi to reduce the cost of buying the vaccines. October 29, Sanofi Posture applies the DOH for dengue vaccine to be included in the Philippine National Formulary, a list of drugs and all pharmacies the Philippines must carry, pending approval by the Food and Drug Administration, the FDA. December 1, President Aquino and Secretary Garin meet Sanofi officials during UN Conference on Climate Change in Paris, France. In December 10, 2015, Secretary Garin submits a proposal to the DBM to buy 3 million doses of dengue vaccine. And in December 22, the Philippines grants marketing approval for dengue vaccine, making the first vaccine to be licensed for the prevention of dengue in Asia. The FDA approves the drug, the prevention of disease. In December 28, the DOH Family Health Office submits a request to Secretary Garin to exempt dengue vaccine from being included in Philippine National Formulary. This excludes it from review from the Formulary Executive Council, which determines what drugs are included on the list. And on December 29, 2015, the DBM, Department Budget and Management, issues a 3.5 billion special allotment release order to Garin's office to purchase the vaccines. And on January 21, 2016, the Philippine Children's Medical Center, the PCMC, makes a 3 billion purchase order for the vaccines without approval of the FEC. So on February 3, 2016, Secretary Garin issues a certificate of exemption for dengue vaccines to be utilized in the pilot implementation in the National Capital Region, Region 3, and Region 4A. So on February 11, 2016, the Philippines, under Health Secretary Garin, hosts the worldwide launch of dengue vaccine. And on March 2016, the World Economic Organization releases a paper saying dengue vaccine may be ineffective or may even increase the risk in those who are seronegative at the time of first vaccination. Seronegative pertains to people who have not yet dengue. So, Mr. Chairman, my line of questioning, that's why I read this order. Number one question, di ba meron tayong eleksyon ng May 9, 2016? Can you answer that, Madam Secretary?
Yes, Your Honor.
Mr. Chairman, di ba meron tayong omnibus code, election code, that you cannot act before on the 6 months before the election or after filing the certificate of candidacy, ma'am?
Yes, Your Honor, but health services does not stop during an election period.
So, ma'am, how did you arrive or process to negotiate these medicines to Sanofi, ma'am? Paano mo po negotiate? Kasi po dito sa date na binasa ko, humingi kayo ng discount kay Sanofi. Mr. Sanofi, how much did you give a discount to the Republic of the Philippines from 3.5 million?
DZX!
Remit, ay remit, may ngiti sa bawat padala. Ay remit,